from the governor's office, Governor Landry has officially renewed multiple executive orders declaring a state of emergency here in Louisiana. In total, Landry signed 3 emergency declarations for Louisiana. The first renewal extends former Governor John Bel Edwards' declaration of emergency for Hurricane Ida damages by 30 days. According to the executive director, damages from the storm continues to pose a threat to communities across the Gulf Coast and places the lives and properties of Louisiana in jeopardy. And now to the second emergency declaration. This one targets our law enforcement and the ongoing national shortage of police officers, calling it a, quote, imminent threat. The executive order officially acknowledges the shortage as a matter of public safety, stating in part, quote, the national police shortage has affected Louisiana, with departments experiencing record low employment and an increase in police officer response times, resulting in an increased threat to lives, property, and safety. Here's what State Senator Landry Declares had to say on the emergency order back in February when the declaration was originally made.
There is a police shortage, not just here in Louisiana, but across this nation. There's also a nurses shortage, there's a teacher shortage, and many other professional shortages of people that we depend on, and I just don't know what the intent was behind this emergency declaration. None of the policies that the governor is proposing or supporting will actually make us safer. None of them deal with front-end root causes of crime. None of them deal with mental health and behavioral health, violence intervention, housing, education, job opportunities, wages, and things like that.
According to the Louisiana Sheriff's Association's estimates, offices were down approximately 1,800 deputies statewide as of July of last year. This declaration renewal extends the length of the state of emergency by another 30 days. And the third and final declaration renewal continues subsurface monitoring of the Sulphur Mines salt dome in Calcasieu Parish. The Office of Conservation originally began investigating the region in response to concerns of, quote, unexplained hydrocarbon bubbling. If you don't know, hydrocarbon is a highly flammable organic compound commonly used in gasoline, propane, and kerosene. According to the declaration, hydrocarbon bubbling indicates a, quote, potential for structural failure that could potentially threaten the lives and property of the citizens of the state.